While most teenagers in small-town Kentucky were learning to drive cars, 16-year-old Sheila Farmer was learning to fly airplanes. For Sheila, this wasn't unusual at all. Why wouldn't a woman fly? Her mother, Irene Farmer Napier, had been trained as a pilot on a Civil Air Patrol scholarship just before World War II ended. Aviation was not a barrier to break in the Farmer household, it was simply the family tradition. Sheila married William Harry Wagner in 1961 when she was just 17. They would have 5 daughters together and build a life that balanced family with Sheila's growing passion for flight. In 1970, while the family was living in St. Louis, Sheila took flying lessons at Spirit of St. Louis Airport and earned her pilot's license. She then convinced her husband Harry to learn as well, and they began sharing their love of aviation. The Wagners owned a share of a Piper Warrior that became the family's vehicle for adventure. Spring break trips to Florida and the Bahamas weren't taken by car but by air, with Sheila and Harry splitting the flying duties. The 5 Wagner daughters grew up at the airport, considering it perfectly normal for women to be pilots. But for Sheila, simply flying was not enough. She was highly competitive by nature and wanted more than recreational flying. In 1977, living in Lexington, Kentucky, she discovered air racing when she and fellow pilots Skip Gumbert and Kay Moore entered an all-woman transcontinental air race. This was the beginning, and Sheila was hooked on the challenge and competition of air racing. Whenever possible, she would participate in various racing competitions, always driven by her competitive spirit and love of the challenge. Then came 1997. Sophia Payton, a friend and colleague, called and asked if Sheila would be her partner and co-pilot in the Air Race Classic. Sheila was thrilled, having wanted to team with this experienced racer for a number of years. The race ran from Boise, Idaho to Knoxville, Tennessee, a total of 2,700 statute miles over 13 states. The preparation was intense and methodical. They studied maps, memorized terrain and obstacles, hired a weather consultant, and practiced extensively. The race route took them across the country with mandatory and optional checkpoints. Strategic planning was crucial, including making hotel reservations at every possible stop in advance, then canceling if they could fly further than they planned. During one stop, 2 young girls asked Sheila for her autograph. They were excited to learn that women of all ages, from college students to those in their 90s, were participating in the race. It was excellent publicity for women in aviation and demonstrating that age was no barrier to pursuing their dreams of flying. After landing in Knoxville before the deadline, came the moment they'd worked so hard for, the call announcing they had won. Sheila Wagner became the first and still only Kentuckian to win the Air Race Classic. The victory was especially sweet because she had dreamed of teaming with Sophia Payton for years, and their preparation and teamwork had paid off perfectly. This achievement was significant because Sheila's competitive spirit ran in the family. She once flew a race with her diabetic mother, Irene. When Irene didn't eat enough during the race and passed out in the cockpit, Sheila immediately landed to get help. When Irene was revived, her first words were asking why they'd stopped when they were winning. Throughout her flying career, Sheila balanced her passion for aviation with raising her 5 daughters. This wasn't always easy, as racing required finding co-pilots, securing an aircraft, and managing costs that weren't always practical for a busy mother. Sheila was a devoted member of the 99s, the international organization of women pilots, finding lifelong friendships within this community. The organization was the center of her social world among fellow aviators who shared her passion for flight. The women supported each other, had fun together, and were smart, competitive, and fearless in their flying pursuits. The example Sheila set was not lost on her daughters. Several took flying lessons themselves, carrying forward the family tradition, even if they did not pursue careers in aviation. They learned that having restrictions was unacceptable and that it was possible to fly, both literally and figuratively. Sheila logged over 1,200 hours during her flying career, earning her private pilot's license with an instrument rating. She flew various aircraft on trips across the country and to the Bahamas. Her passion for aviation was evident to everyone who knew her. When she passed away unexpectedly in 2011 at the age of 66, Sheila left behind 5 daughters, 5 grandchildren, and a legacy that proved aviation truly opened up opportunities for women. She had demonstrated that with determination, preparation, and competitive spirit, the sky was indeed the limit. It is therefore fitting that Sheila Farmer Wagner, whose legacy continues to inspire new generations of women to reach for the clouds and pursue their dreams in aviation without accepting limitations, be enshrined in the Kentucky Aviation Hall of Fame.